Hey, you guys, popping back in for news, views, and conversations. Just wanted to discuss with you today Mark Robinson. He is the North Carolina GOP nominee for the Republican Party for governor. And it turns out that he has said a lot of things that is just way off. He's made a lot of different comments about a lot of things. He's even spoke on being a black Nazi, actually being okay with slavery. Um, if we actually brought it back, he would buy a few. He's made a lot of racy statements, and they're trying to see if they can get him to drop out of the race because it's actually hurting President Trump because he has actually plugged this guy and said what he thinks of him. He's actually made comments and saying that he is like Martin Luther King. Uh, two times two. He's like Martin Luther King on steroids. So he's actually been, supporting this guy, promoting him. And so now the GOP, the Republican Party, they are trying to distance themselves from him because it's not a good look for Trump in his race for presidency against Kamala Harris. They said that these posts that he wrote. This was found 4 or 5 years ago before he even got into politics. And it came off of his username, I believe it is Nude Africa, through his email account, social media, YouTube, Pinterest, and whatever things that he's been on as far as social media. They found this information. However, Mark Robinson himself is denying this. He's saying that it's tabloid trash. It's not true. He believes that they are doing something with AI to, I guess, pretend to be his person and say that he went out there and put all this stuff out there. He's basically saying that they're trying to sabotage him pretty much. So he's trying to clear the air himself as the candidate, North Carolina GOP nominee, and saying that he had nothing to do with this and he's trying to clear his name. And of course, like I said earlier, Trump is trying to distance himself from it. So I want to play you a clip from CNN as they gave more information, more detail as in what's going on, because now we're having to try to figure out, okay, who do we believe? Do we believe Mark Robinson, or is somebody really trying to sabotage him? Or is he really speaking against his own people this way? And he expects our support. So definitely take a look at it. The clip that I'm about to show you from CNN. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to Chanel Music Entertainment TV. And I will see you guys on next week.
My colleague Em and I found a series of highly disturbing posts more than a decade ago on the message board of a pornographic website, and we traced them directly to Mark Robinson. Now, we did interview Robinson yesterday, and he categorically denies making these posts. I'll get to that in just one moment. But first, I want to walk people through just some of them. Take a look at this post right here. In one post, Robinson called himself a, quote, black Nazi, and when discussing then President Barack Obama in 2012, writing, quote, I'd take Hitler over any of the shit that's in Washington right now. It even goes beyond that. Another disturbing post, Robinson defended slavery, writing, quote, slavery is not that bad, and I wish they would bring back slavery. I would certainly buy a few. He also disparaged, as you mentioned, civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., using a slur to refer to him and calling him a, quote, commie bastard. All those comments and others you can read on CNN.com were made on the message board of a porn website called Nude Africa. And Wolf, in addition to those posts, he also expressed views on Nude Africa that sharply contradict his current policies as a socially conservative candidate for governor. For example, he has been vocally anti-transgender, but look at what Robinson wrote on the porn message board a decade ago, that he liked, quote, watching transgender porn, adding, quote, that's effing hot, and called himself a, quote, perv. In another thread that was discussing the story of a woman who said she had been raped by her taxi driver while she was drunk, Robinson wrote, quote, and the moral of this story, don't F a drunk white bitch.
So he wrote all this years ago, as you know, Andrew, when he was an ordinary citizen before he even got into politics. How do we know it's him?
Well, Wolf, we found that Robinson consistently used the same username, Mini Soldier, that he used on Nude Africa in all of his social media. You can see it on Pinterest, Black Planet, YouTube. He even previously used it as his Twitter handle. Now, his full name was even also listed on Nude Africa, and the email that we found that he used there, he also used on several other websites. The biographical data from multiple websites using Mini Soldier, including Nude Africa, matches Robinson's. There's an exact date of birth. There's his hometown. There's the fact his mother worked at an HBCU, even that his favorite episode of The Twilight Zone is number 22.
So, Andrew, what does Robinson say about all of this?
Robinson is calling the story trash. He says it's not him. Now, we did ask the campaign for comment. We gave them 48 hours to respond. That deadline was yesterday. And that's when Lieutenant Governor Robinson agreed to do a brief interview with us. Here is just a little bit of that. Lieutenant Governor Robinson, thank you so much for being willing to talk to us. I think we'll just jump right into it. Do you deny that this account is you?
Well, first off, let me say thank you so much for allowing me to come here and clear the air. We absolutely do. This is not us. These are not our words, and this is not anything that is characteristic of me, nor has it ever been. The people here of North Carolina know I have been completely transparent about my history. All the warts, we put them all out. We let folks know about it. But the folks here also know my character. They know who I am. They know my voice, so to speak. This is not my voice. This is not things that we would ever say or even think. And so absolutely we do.
How do you explain all of the matching details on this profile? The profile on Nude Africa lists your full name as Mark Robinson. The email listed on the account is an email that you have used elsewhere on the internet, including with your photo. You have used that name, Mini Soldier, on multiple social media accounts, including Twitter, Pinterest, Black Planet, and YouTube. How can you deny, with all of these matching details, that this is you?
Look, I'm not going to get into the minutia of how somebody manufactured these salacious tabloid lies, but I can tell you this: there's been over $1 million spent on me through AI by a billionaire son who's bound and determined to destroy me. The things that people can do with the internet now is incredible. But what I can tell you is this: again, these are not my words. This is simply tabloid trash being used as a distraction from the substantive issues that the people of this state are facing. We have addressed it. We have said it's not true. And we wish we could move on and get busy with the business of the people of the state.
Okay, well, these posts, they do take place over a 5-year period from 2008 to 2013. You mentioned AI. Are you saying that somebody was somehow manufacturing biographical details to exactly match you using your username?
Look, I have no idea how this was done. I have absolutely no idea how it was done. And I have 5 weeks left in this campaign to focus on the substantive issues that North Carolinians face. I do not have time for tabloid trash.
There have been rumors that some of your campaign staff have quit. Can you tell us if that's true or not?
Absolutely not, and we are not getting out of this race. There are people who are counting on us to win this race because, again, we don't want a governor who's going to be a person that can't be counted on to tell the truth. And I can assure you, my opponent has been taken to court for not telling the truth in campaigns. And he's been completely dishonest in his ads against me. His camp is so desperate to destroy us. It's just like Clarence Thomas said years ago. This is a high-tech lynching. And, back long years ago, they used to use rope. Now they're using cable.
And Lieutenant Governor Robinson released a video shortly after our interview reiterating that he plans to stay in the race. Wolf?
Andrew, also tell me a little bit more about those comments that Robinson made about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, I mentioned those a little bit earlier, Wolf. He used a slur, as I mentioned, for MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. He called him Martin Lucifer and then used a slur that I can't say on air. He also called him a, quote, commie bastard, and that was back when they were putting his memorial in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall.
Andrew, thanks for your excellent reporting. Thank your team as well. I want to bring in right now the civil rights advocate, Martin Luther King III, the son of the civil rights icon. He's joining us from Atlanta. Martin, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, what's your reaction to Mark Robinson's clearly racist comments about your father?
Well, it is certainly very tragic that instead of elevating what civil rights leaders did, and people in North Carolina who are on the front lines of the modern civil rights movement, particularly in Greensboro, where the sit-in movement occurred. And by the way, on this day, Wolf, 66 years ago, My father was stabbed in Harlem while signing his book by a black woman, from a black woman by the name of Isola Curry. My point for making that is after Dad was stabbed, the next day he was able to share with the media, and he talked about the dangerous rhetoric that is being propagated in the nation. 66 years later, that rhetoric is being propagated, or at least it's been alleged that it's being propagated by a person who's running for the governor of the state of North Carolina. And it's a very, very sad scenario. As I said, I feel that people should be lifting up the contributions that have been made by North Carolinians to move things forward in our nation around civil and human rights so that all people are treated with dignity and respect.
Yeah, that's so important. Former President Trump, as you probably know, has had some high praise for Robinson in the past. Let me play this one clip. Listen to this.
This is Martin Luther King on steroids. I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2. One of the great stars of the party, one of the great stars in politics, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson.
So what's your response to that?
Well, first of all, again, I don't even know exactly what that means, but it does not mean anything positive. The fact that these things have been attributed to what this person stood for. And it certainly has nothing to do with what my father and his team and others have stood for about decency, about justice, about creating the kind of nation that where all people are treated fairly. And it's unfortunate, again, but maybe not surprising. We've seen this kind of behavior from the former president many times, and the fact that people still embrace that. There is a fraction. I think far more people want to see us as a nation that works together. We can disagree. During my father's era and my mother's leadership, they taught us, they were not the only ones, but they taught us how to disagree without being disagreeable. That's the spirit. We must bring civility back to the political landscape. And I think we have to work on that every day. We are far better as a nation than the behavior that we see when we make these this kind of divisive rhetoric and language, which is causing all kind of things in the political space and in our nation just in general.
Yeah, it's so important. I wish that would happen. Writing in a forum discussing black Republicans back in 2010, Martin Robinson stated, and it was unprovoked, quote, "I'm a black Nazi." Reading those comments, what went through your mind?
You know, I don't ever like to say that somebody is crazy or demented, but that was the first thing. This person is way off their rocker, that you would admire someone who is such an evil force and figure and did so much harm in relationship to killing Jewish people and other things. So that you empathize with this person, there's got to be something wrong with you. And it also says that there should be concerns about North Carolinians who have allowed this person to emerge as one who's providing leadership. He is a lieutenant governor. So at the end of the day, we still have a lot of work to do to stamp out hatred, hostility, to stamp out this kind of behavior.